All right, good afternoon, everybody. My name's Callie. I am tech support and software training management for HYPACK. Myself and my colleague Caroline are going to be talking to you today about background charts and HYPACK. This is kind of an extension of the intro to HYPACK and surveying session that was in here just before lunch. The reason that this is a brand new session and the reason this session came to be is because we have a lot of people who call in and they're like, all right, so I have a HYPACK license, I'm in the software, I have it downloaded, now what? Getting sort of just a map of where you're trying to operate so that you can start planning your project is kind of a little bit of a roadblock, and we're gonna show you some tips and tricks for getting over that barrier so that you can actually start planning your project. There's actually a lot to HYPACK background charts, more than I expected when I started putting the presentation together. So there's quite a bit of content in this session. Caroline and I are going to be bouncing back and forth, and I'm going to let her introduce herself. And with that, Caroline, go ahead and take the reins.
I'm so sorry. I'm having technical difficulties with this presentation. Oh, okay, we see it. Cool. Hi, my name is Caroline Liu. I started at HYPACK in October of 2021, so I've been here for a little over 2 years. I'm the technical writer at HYPACK, so basically what I do is write the manuals, the main manual, high sweep manual, update notes, driver documents, also help with sounding better articles and things like that. But yeah, just FYI, because we do quarterly updates, we have a Sounding Better newsletter each quarter that has update notes as to what was added in that quarter. All right, so HYPACK background charts. So why are background charts important and why do we have this session? Callie went over a good overview, gave a good overview of it. Part of it's because background charts give you context and navigational reference. When you're out in the field doing a survey or working on a dredge project. They also serve as maps within the editors within HYPACK. So if you're editing your data, you want to know where your data is it even in the correct location? And HYPACK background charts help you to figure out and orient yourself. HYPACK displays several types of background charts and electronic charts that you can download from online, or if you take photos or draw any sort of chart, you can import those things in a HYPACK, just depending on the file type. So I will go into that a little more later on. So, okay, good. So objectives of this session. We're going to split it into 6 parts. Me and Callie, we're just going to hand it off to each other. Section 1, I'm going to go over an introduction to background files. So basically, when you first open HYPACK, where do you even load in the background charts? Like, how do you adjust the display settings? How do you even add existing files to your background files section? I will go over that. Next, we will go into some electronic charts, specifically really common ones. So Callie will go over E&C charts. What are they? How to add them, adjusting the display, using the info query tool to basically get data from the E&C charts. So for instance, if you're on the Savannah River that we saw last night, we saw a really huge barge and it was navigating up the waterway underneath a bridge. The E&C charts will have things like bridge heights and things like that, and she will go into how to plan for that. Web map servers, so there are web map servers are a great way to obtain electronic charts online. They also contain, satellite imagery and things like that. We will show you how to set up a connection between HYPACK and a web map server, and you can just download those charts and specify an area that you want those charts, specifically what charts you want to download and how to do that. We'll go over certain common background charts that are created from data file types that are frequently seen in the field. So things like matrix files, XYZ files, DXF contours, and TIFF and Esri exports. Georeferenced images, I think Andrew went over that in detail in the previous section, but I will just, again, run through that briefly, as well as the future of background charts. So we do have, this kind of leads into the next session, which is the geodesy and RTK session. There is visual geodesy with OpenStreetMaps, so you can easily just click on where you want to get your geodesy parameters from. All right, so I'm going to go into background files. So understanding the HYPACK project structure. Let me see if I can actually just pull up the program instead. Okay, cool. So actually, I'm just going to completely load it because I understand that some people are completely new at HYPACK. So you open the program, and the first thing that pops up is the project wizard, and you select, do you want to create a new project? Do you want to load existing? So I'm going to go load existing. Next, launch. In the project manager, you have a list of all of the projects that you have saved on your computer. So I am going to call up one of the projects, and you load it. And as you can see, this one already has some background charts. We have like a TIFF file. We have some matrix data. We have some soundings. Sorry, actually, I'm going to just turn off these soundings because they are really annoying. OK. So where are the background files within HYPACK? So you're going to go to project files, and then you're going to open up background files. And as you can see, there are multiple different files that are available here. So here we have a TIFF file, a DIG file, DXF, and an S57 chart file. But where are they located on your computer? Well, we have this path section on the right, and if you expand it, it will tell you exactly where they're located. In general, by default, most of the background files are saved either in the project folder. So you can see at the top, the name of this project is Halifax. So in the HYPACK 2023 folder, projects, Halifax. That is where this is located. Some of the others are, the other common place that you will see a lot of projects saved to is the HYPACK store folder. In general, things that are saved within the HYPACK store can be easily accessed and used across different projects. I mean, I can pull up the projects folder just to show you as well. So we're going to go to Halifax. So as long as your background file is saved just right within that top level project folder, it will appear so you can see, let's see, sorry. Yeah, the TIFF file, there's DXF, which is this guy here. Things like that. All right, so next you might be wondering, okay, so I have these background files that are currently available. I want to add new background files here. So there are 3 ways to do that. You can either drag and drop your background files that you have available into that project folder. You can use, and we also have like a couple of HYPACK specific tools that you can add either the path of that file, or you can copy that file from a different project and put it in your current project. So I will go ahead and just demo that. Let me go ahead and switch to a different one. All right, so I have background files. I have a ton of these. So I am going to go to projects, Philadelphia. OK, so this is the project itself. And I have in a subfolder, I mean, these files can be saved anywhere. I have a TIFF file, a georeferenced TIFF file, and it's georeferencing information in this TFW file. And you can just copy or you can cut, and then you just paste it directly in that top level folder. So you can see it shows up there. So currently it doesn't immediately show up in the background file section, so you're going to right click on it. Sorry, wrong one. You're going to go to Options under Project Items, and you're going to click Rescan Folders. That rescans all the folders within that project to pull any new charts or data files or anything that you have added to it. So it's going to be down here. And to show, to have it show up, you need to make sure that your background chart is enabled, and to do that, you just click on it. You just click on the checkbox, basically. And as you can see, that new TIFF file is showing up. And you add a new chart, and now it's on top of your data, it's on top of your previous chart. You can change the order that, or the layer order that it's showing in HYPACK by, there are a couple of ways. You can right click. You can do bring to front or send to back. So I'm going to send this newly added chart to the back, and it immediately puts back there. You can also bring to front. And if you just have a ton of charts and you have maybe 20 layers and it's just really difficult and long-winded to just do that function, instead you can click and open our chart display order settings. And this lists all of the files that are within the project item that you can display on this map. It lists data files and sounding files, border files, channel line files, as well as background files. So you can see here the ones that are selected, they have a check mark on them. And you can, to change the order of the layer, you select your file and then you click front, and that moves it to the top above others, or you can click back and that moves it back below. Or you can move it all the way to the top, and you click apply. You can see that XYZ file now shows up, or you can just send it all the way to the back, click apply, and it sends it to the bottom. Yeah, you just play around with it, and then eventually you'll get the layers to be the way that you want. Okay, so we're going to click on OK. And now this is where I have to consult my notes because I need help. All right. So it makes sense. So also probably another thing that you noticed when you brought in your background, or when I brought in this background chart, is that sometimes it just shows up and you kind of don't know where it is. So you can use the zoom extents function to zoom out to the size of that specific file, like the dimensions and the location. So you just click on zoom extents and you can see the whole thing. And it will also depend on the size of that data or the background chart file as well, just the dimensions of it itself. So for instance, if I use zoom extents on the XYZ file here, it's gonna ignore all these other charts, and it's gonna position this so that it is taking up most of your screen. You can see a lot more clearer. It's right there. Okay, you see that. So I'm going to go back to the slides briefly. So that was just a basic kind of crash course on how do you bring in your background files, add them to your project. You might be wondering what types of background charts does HYPACK support. So here's a full list of what you can add to HYPACK. Most of these files are imported from other programs. There are some files that you can generate within HYPACK itself using our different editors. Specifically, within HYPACK, we do produce back files, DG2 through DXF, so DG2, DGN, DWG, DXF files, georeference PDFs and PNGs, S57 charts from the ENC editor, which Callie will show you today, as well as TIFF and Esri TIFF charts. There's certain types of background files that you do need to take some extra steps prior to bringing them into HYPACK for them to work. So for instance, ARCs, S63, and VPF files all need to have some sort of extra settings changed before you can import them in. And a lot of this is within the manual, very specific to people's applications. Specific to today's presentation, we are mainly going to focus on S57 charts, georeferenced, just like regular images like PNG, PDFs, TIFFs, TIFF and ETSRI TIFF exports, and DXF background files. Although, as I mentioned at the beginning, there are certain data types that we also kind of use as a background chart to kind of inform you of how much work has been done and how much work still remains. So we will also go over those data file types. Okay, now is also a good time to remind you that setting up your geodesy is very, very important. You can see in this example, let me just bring it up from current slide. Okay. So you can see in this example on the left side, all of the charts in the data files are using the same geodetic parameters and everything lines up correctly. If you do not do that, you use different geodetic parameters or settings for your data files and your background charts and plan line files, etc., things will get misaligned. So again, really important to also set up your geodesy correctly. This session will not cover geodesy, but it will be covered in the session in this room afterwards, presented by John Lindberg, the Geodesy and RTK GPS, Geodesy and RTK GPS presentation. So if you would like to learn more, I highly recommend you stay there. Hi.
So the question is, if you're at this point and you find that something in your project is not georeferenced correctly, how to proceed from that point. There's a few different tools within HYPACK that you can adjust the geodetic parameters depending on the file type that you're trying to fix. If it's an XYZ file, we have a program called Geodetic List Conversion, which is where you would change the geodesy for something like that. And then for other file types, there's another subprogram called project conversion. That's usually when you're dealing with raw files that were collected in the wrong geodesy. It all depends on the type of file that you need to re-georeference, but I will say that just changing the project geodesy will not fix the overarching problem. You will have to make sure that each file type has been converted to the correct geodesy before you continue on with your project. Does that answer your question? Yep. All right.
Okay. Thank you, Callie. All right, so next we are going into, okay, I'm going to go back into the program, and I did mention that there were multiple ways to add a background chart or file. So the first one that I showed you was literally dragging and dropping it into the project folder. Now the other two methods, actually I'm just going to switch to a different project because it's just easier for me to work like this. So you're going to go to background files and you're going to right click on it, and you have two options. You have add file and copy, and as you can see there's a whole full list of what kind of files you can add to the project files, background files section. Now what's the difference between add file and copy is that add file lists that new file, whatever you pick, it's going to be listed here, but it is not, that file will still reside in its original location. It is not going to be copied to the current folder that it's in. So you should definitely pay attention to that. If you frequently have to move your project to like a different computer or share it or something like that, you might not want to do that. It just depends on your use case. The other one is add file and copy. So basically you add the file and you also copy it into the project folder that you are currently using / have open. I guess like the advantage for add file and not copying is if your background charts are really large, they take up a lot of hard drive space, and you just don't want to have multiple copies of these big charts on your computer, then you use add file. In that case, we definitely recommend you store that file in the HYPACK store because it's shared amongst different projects. So let me just go ahead and demo it. I'm just gonna we're gonna hide that because I was practicing before. Okay. So background files, add file, and I'm going to just add some S57 file from the HYPACK store folder. So the HYPACK store folder is a special folder, like as I have been repeating myself. It stores files that are used across different projects. So things like ENC charts that you download from NOAA or the Army Corps of Engineers, that's a great place to have them live. So the HYPACK store is going to be on your C drive here. You click on it, and I'm just going to pull something from the Army Corps of Engineers. Oh my God. What have I done? Okay. So we're going to select this file, and we're going to open it. And as you can see, this S57 chart is now listed here, but it is still in the HYPACK store. And then let me just remove this file. And then the other method is add file and copy, and this is if you want to literally copy that file into your current project. So we'll just do that again. I mean, I could just copy any file. Hi. So now this S57 chart is copied into the Halifax folder, and I can show that to you here. And you can see that it's, here is that file within the Halifax folder. Okay, so over that. So I went over the display options, the chart display order. Okay, transparency. So sometimes you have charts where you have multiple layers and you just don't want to, a certain color on your chart, or maybe you want to adjust the transparency of the charts so that you can see multiple layers one on top of the other. So what you do is you right-click on the name of that specific chart, and you click on transparency, and that brings up the set transparency dialog. So you can see there are two options. One is, so first I'm going to adjust the holistic transparency of this TIFF chart here. So I'm just going to move it down here, the slider, and click apply. And you can see, like, you can adjust how transparent you want it, how opaque you want it, play around with it, and then you click OK once you're done. And then the other one is if you have a specific color on that chart that you just want to remove so things can show up underneath the chart. So that works really well if you have a vector file or just like a file with a chart that has flat colors. You don't want any sort of like imagery because there's a lot of gradients and things like that because you can only pick one color. So this file is great because it has this whole brown. So I'm just going to remove the brown color. You can also use it to remove like any blues from like water and things like that. So you right-click on it, transparency. So first of all, I'm going to just make it opaque. So you're going to check the transparent color option, and then you are going to click on set transparent color by clicking the map window. Or you can use this function as well. If you know the exact RGB code of that color you want to remove, you can just click on that and then enter your RGB values there. This is basically an eyedropper tool. So you click on it, and then you click on the color you don't want, and you click apply, and that just completely removes it. And you can see whatever is going on underneath that layer. And then to reapply that color, you just uncheck the transparent color option, you just click apply, and then OK.
Something new today.
Oh, OK, I'm glad. OK, so I went over zoom extents. I mean, I guess I can go over it again briefly, but again, I've like kind of zoomed in and like, who knows where you are. Maybe you just want to see the entire chart. So right click, zoom extents, that zooms you out. Again, it depends on the size of that specific file. It uses the dimensions of that specific file to adjust the display settings. So right now I have the contour file up. So it's going to zoom in so that this part, it fills up the window. Okay. All right, next we're going to go over color tables. So what are color tables? The color table that you select within your current project is what is going to be used to color your back files, your matrix charts, your XYZ soundings, etc. So as you can see, I have sounding data on this one, and I also have, I think, a matrix file. So to set the color table, you know, say for instance, you don't like this color scheme, or you want to use something different that is more accurate to your data. You're going to right click on the color bar, and you can click on Select Color Table. And that opens up the Select Color Table window, and you will see two categories. One's the project, and one is shared. So again, project is our color tables that are stored specifically in your currently open project. So in this example, these 4 are stored within the Halifax folder, and shared is stored within the HYPACK store folder. So again, stuff that is stored there, you can easily share that same color table across different projects. So they are stored in files that have the extension HCF, as in like HYPACK color file. So I can pull this up since Halifax, so we have like ADCP, so just sort by type, which I hope will bring it up. So yes, you can see seabed, pastel color, and ADCP are all stored within the Halifax folder. Okay, so you can really easily sample and try out different colors by just clicking on them. So, you know, ADCP, different colors from other projects that have been used across different projects, you can select and set them. So that's preset color tables, or color tables that you have created, you or your coworker or somebody has created in the past. You can select them from here. Now, what if you want to create your own color table? Like, this is just completely one color, I don't like it. It doesn't tell me anything. So you can click on Edit, or you can go from New, and that will allow you to create a new color table. And here you have the bands and what depths or elevations they correspond to, just depends on what you selected. So there are 3 ways to change the colors. One is by setting the band depth ranges. You enter the minimum value, the maximum value, and what the increment is. And I'll go into the other 2 briefly as well. So minimum, maximum, increment, okay. And then we're gonna apply it, and then you're gonna give it a name. So I'll just do like test HYPACK, which I totally did not spell HYPACK correctly, but that's okay. So I'm gonna save it within my own project folder. Or, you know, you can even save it like elsewhere, but it's just easier to save it either in your own project folder or the HYPACK store folder so you don't lose it. And click OK, and then apply, OK. So that, OK. Sorry, someone's calling me. So as you can see, some of the colors are applying. Give me one moment. What am I doing? Okay, so there are a couple of other ways that you can adjust the color bands. You can adjust them by color zone, so that gives you like, so you can just click and select or change the colors that are used for you know, coloring your data. So we're just gonna go with some other color scheme. So you can see immediately those colors are changing automatically, and they have them dispersed across different depth ranges. You apply, you can click OK. In this example, I don't know why it's not looking good. But there are multiple ways to get all of the colors to display like your depths in a very like calculated way. And then the other way, the other method that you can adjust your color bands is you can just double click on a specific color, and then you can pick anything else from the settings. So like just do green. So these depths will have a very specific color associated with them. I'll click apply and OK. So as you can see, everything that was greater than or equal to 50 is now green. OK, but maybe you still think, this doesn't look great, or maybe I don't have the depths information, or maybe I just want to really quickly have the colors scaled properly. Then there is an option, and it is called auto scale colors. So first of all, this is it is this file, yes. So what you will do is you right-click on your data file, and you can use the auto scale colors, and then automatically scales it so that it uses the full range of the color set to color your data. So that is color tables. So whatever, custom color tables. So that was for matrix files, and you can also use it for XYZ files as well as bag files. Now you might have a DXF file, then that's specifically a CAD file, and you have data in it that you want to display or show on your background. Some DXF files have specific color settings that are associated with them, but you can also change that color setting to better fit your background chart. Today, so what you would do is go to Settings, and then open the Settings window. You go to Charts, and you have CAD drawing options here. Today, my DXF file is already black, as is. But if it's colorful, you can click on Display All Black and then Apply, and then it'll just paint in black. Or if you have a very dark colored chart as your background chart, and you want your DXF file to show up better, maybe the color is not coming through, maybe black is just getting lost in the background, you can also change to Display All White and apply it. I know that's not a great example, but I do have a different one, so this is just a DXF file. DXF contour files are similar. So let me open a different file. All right, so this one has a DXF contour file from Seattle. So again, this color scheme is from the DXF file itself. And you click on Settings, Charts, and under CAD Drawing Options, so right now it's displaying normally. You can also display it all black. You can also display it all white. In this case, it'll just be clear. Just a side note, sometimes when you load in your contour files, it might just show up as, oh, it's all black, and you might freak out, where's my data? Always just check first under Settings, and then the Charts tab, just make sure that you have Display Normally selected, and it should show up correctly. All right. So next, we also have, I'm going to go over schemes, HYPACK schemes and Scheme Builder. Sometimes you just want to adjust like the colors or the font size or the boldness of different lines within your chart. And you can do that. Actually, I'm going to open a different file, a different project. So it might be easier to show. Where am I? So maybe you have targets. You want to change like how big it's displayed on your chart, or you want to change the size of the font, or how the font is being displayed. Is it like parallel to lines, perpendicular lines, or things like that? So you can always go to Settings, and you can use Color Scheme. Oh, right. Or if you're using this as a background chart for navigation, like you're doing some multi-beam survey, and it's really, really bright out, or it's super dark out, you don't want to, it's really difficult to look at it like this out on the boat when the sky is shining on your screen. So you go to Settings, and HYPACK has some pre-defined color schemes. that are good for using in different survey, like weather conditions. So maybe this one wasn't the best one to do. It's a light day. Actually, just give me a second. All right, I don't know what happened. Okay, well, I'll just go into it. Sorry, give me 1 second. Because I actually want to show it properly. Which one did I use? Well, I will show you Scheme Builder, it's fine. All right, so here, these are samples of different types of elements that can show up in your charts. You can see things like targets, your boat, your main display statuses, how the background chart is colored. And if you click on each element, you can see on the left-hand window, they have different settings. So for instance, here I have this target, and maybe I want to change the color of it, so I can just click on down here. I change it to a different color. Maybe I want to change the font, so if you select a text element, you can just change the size of it. Sorry. Targets text, yep. Or you can also click on different line elements and change the line widths. You can also change the color of the item. And for your background charts, you can also adjust how you want that to look. Do you want it to be bright day or dark day? There it goes. Okay, now it's working. Bright night or dark night. And so you can adjust the scheme, and this will be how your background chart displays overall when you are navigating out in the field. And then you can click File Save, and you can save it as some sort of like, give it a file name. And click Save, and it saves as an SCX file, and again, it's saved in the Schemes folder, so you can use it across different projects. So, yeah, that's all I have to show for now. Next, we have E&C charts. So, yeah.
All right, I'm going to talk about E&C charts, and I'm going to do my best not to launch into my E&C editor presentation, which is Thursday. I'm just going to cover the basics of how to access E&C charts, what they're used for, why we care about them. So ships have long been required to carry some kind of chart for route planning and safe navigation. This has traditionally been paper charts. Those are the big printed plotted charts that you can draw on. You can plan your routes. But since the advent of electronic navigational charts, this has changed. And the future of charts is no longer going to be paper. In the United States, at least NOAA has been phasing out the production of paper charts and will be switching entirely to electronic navigation charts supposedly by this time next year. I think that they've been already phasing out production of a lot of the charts that were formerly available, and E&Cs are the way of the future. So E&Cs, electronic navigational charts, these are what you're going to be running on your chart plotter. So for the big ships, in lieu of carrying paper charts now have the option of using an ECDIS, which is an electronic chart display and information system. All the new big ships that are built today have an ECDIS. All the old ships that were built before this became a thing are phasing ECDIS is in as paper charts are phasing out. So we care about ENCs a lot, especially in the world of navigation. And for people that are using HYPACK for navigation, it's really handy that we're able to use S57 charts in HYPACK. We have a few different ways that we can do it. I'm going to show you some of the basics real quick. I'm just going to go ahead and start a new project, and I'm going to call it, we're going to look at New London, Connecticut here. So the first thing you'll notice is that you have a blank screen. One really useful way to get oriented, and before I get too far, I'm going to do what we talked about earlier and make sure that my geodetic parameters are set correctly. So we're talking about Connecticut here. Go ahead and set that up. Sorry, I'm going to get out of the VDatum because I don't want VDatum. All right, so now I'm going to go to this handy little view search location tool, and I'm going to type in New London, Connecticut. And I'm going to select the New London that I want because I don't want to be in New London, New Hampshire. And I'm going to click Center Map. So now this is centered. It doesn't look like it, but it is centered on New London, Connecticut. And now the magic happens when you hit Add ENC Charts. I'm really hoping this works and doesn't do anything crazy. Awesome, it worked. All right, so we're still in the dark day settings here, or dark night, so I'm going to... One thing to be aware of is that when you have the ENC editor dialog box open, it hides itself, and then you have to reopen it and hit close before you can do anything else in the program. One weird tripping point. So under settings, I'm going to go ahead and set this to light day so you can see. Ooh, that didn't work. That's okay. The point is that you can bring in ENC charts by simply going to search location, centering on your map, and then going to add ENC charts. You can also add ENC charts that you already have existing on your computer, the way that Caroline mentioned earlier, where you drag and drop them into your project folder, and then you can either do the rescan folders, or you can go to background files, right-click on it, add file and copy, and you'll see this option for S57 files. For the purposes of this talk, ENCs, electronic navigation charts, S57 and .000 files are all used interchangeably. We're talking about the same type of file here. When I say S57 files, that's because they conform to the S57 IHO standard. And again, I promise not to launch into my ENC editor talk, so I'm going to stop there talking about S57. So that's how you would bring in charts that way. And then the other option that we have here is this little Add ENC Charts button. This is going to bring up a list of a lot of different available ENC charts. I'm not going to talk about the web map servers because Caroline's going to talk about that more. But you'll see already preloaded into this database here is NOAA ENCs. I think most of the attendees from this conference are in the United States, so I am speaking sort of specifically to the United States right now when we talk about NOAA ENC charts, but other countries and other hydrographic offices also have their versions of ENC charts. But if you go to this dropdown under NOAA ENC, you'll see the list of charts that are available in that area. Now, you'll notice if I zoom out, more charts start to populate. So if you zoom out and then you want to zoom in, let's go up to Norwich here. You'll see the list of charts changing in real time as you zoom in and out. This is when it's functioning properly, and I will say that you do need to have an internet connection the first time you do this so that it can actually download the charts into the HYPACK store. Caroline mentioned the HYPACK store earlier, and I'm just going to show that one more time so that you can see where these charts are actually being loaded to. If you go into your local CDISC here, the HYPACK store, and again, it depends on where you're at, but for the United States, you're going to find them mostly under NOAA, or Army Corps of Engineers also makes ENCs. So depending on whether you're working inland or offshore, that'll change which types of ENCs you're going to be loading. But we're looking at NOAA, so we're going to go into the NOAA, and then it'll also load the old school raster BSB charts. Again, these aren't going to be produced anymore starting next year, so you'll be looking primarily at your ENCs here. And then a list of all the ENCs that you've ever downloaded using that ENC, Add ENC button are going to show up here. And then this can be accessed across different projects and across different versions of HYPACK. So the purpose of the HYPACK store is so that if you were to, for some reason, need to launch HYPACK 2020, you'll still be able to access all of those files from a common location that is outside of the main HYPACK folder for the specific year that you're running. I saw a question. Yes, go ahead.
Is the store in a cloud that you guys monitor, or is that local to?
It puts everything local on your computer, on your C drive. And then if for some reason you were to want to, I have mine on my D drive, so you would just move it over, and then anytime you downloaded stuff from HYPACK, it'll go to wherever your HYPACK directory is, which is whatever drive you put it on. But no, it's not stored to a cloud. You'll have an internet connection when you download all these the first time, and then it'll store it locally on your computer in the HYPACK store. Good question. Sorry, the question there was if the HYPACK store is stored somewhere on the cloud, and the answer is no, it's actually stored locally on your machine. So that's ENCs. I'm going to go just a little bit further into depth on what ENCs can do for you. I wish I could get this to display in light day. I think we actually changed the scheme for light day. There we go. All right, teamwork.
Okay.
And then I'll reload. Bright day. Oh, it's still dark. That's okay. We'll work with it. Actually, I could just grab my computer real quick, too. When we went into Scheme Builder, we inadvertently set the light day scheme to actually be dark now. So we're going to... You are sharp. Thank you, sir. All right, we're back in light day, even though it says dark day on the computer, but we'll just run with it for now. All right, so ENCs are really cool. I'm going to show you just a quick thing about display on ENCs. So this is really ugly. This is not navigationally helpful to me at all. I'm going to show you a couple tricks for making it a little better, and I'm also going to add that NOAA is on a mission to make ENCs more user-friendly. They've been developing the way that these display for like the past few years, and they're definitely making some progress making them a little more user-friendly. They're making customizable ENCs. I don't know if that has actually launched yet, but I have seen a lot of news about that being in the works. So let's go into settings. And under this charts tab, you're going to see the S57 options button here. I honestly normally start by turning all of this stuff off. And then depending on what I'm using HYPACK for, I'll turn back on the things that I care about. So generally speaking, if you're using HYPACK for navigation, you're probably going to want your light descriptions, your ATONs, probably geographic names. I'll just turn a few of these things on. I like to show my soundings, and then I also usually hide these extra contours. Again, what you have turned on and off is going to depend on your use case, but we'll just go ahead and apply these settings, and you'll see that it cleans up the display quite a bit. All right, so that's a little easier to deal with here. I'm also going to talk a little bit about ENC contours. So this is a safety tool. ENCs are a safety tool, and they're customizable to your specific ship's settings. So if you have a draft of, let's say, 10 feet, you don't want your settings to be set for a deep draft ship. So you can actually go in here and set the contours the way that it's useful to you for your navigation on your particular vessel. I'm going to pull up the PowerPoint real quick just so that I can make sure that I'm giving you good information on what each of these are. But when it comes to safety contours, the safety depth is the maximum depth at which your soundings go from black to gray. The gray soundings are deeper than what you're concerned about. The settings, or the soundings that show up in black, those are the ones that you care about. That's when you're getting like a little shallower than you're going to be comfortable continuing to drive toward land. So in this example that I show in the screen grab here, all of the sounding, I set my safety depth here to 20, we're talking feet, 20 feet. So anything that's in gray is deeper than 20 feet. And like you can kind of, I don't want to say ignore those soundings, but you can pay less attention to the soundings in gray. And then once you get over here into the dark black soundings, those are when you need to start paying attention because you set your safety depth to 20 feet. So that's when the soundings are becoming shallower than 20 feet. Similarly, so there's actually a little contour planning tool. I'll show you real quick in the software. If you go to contour planning, you can actually just plug in the numbers that pertain to your vessel, and it'll help you to calculate what you should be using for safety depth. Obviously, mariner's eye is important here. You don't just blindly trust the program to determine your safety depth and safety contours, but this is a helpful planning tool. The safety contour is the heavy gray line that you see across the screen here. So that's going to separate your gray from your blue. The point here is that you're setting your color so that when you get to the blue, you should turn around and go back the other direction. Blue is when you're in, I don't want to, I'm not going to drop swear words, but blue is when you should turn around. Dark gray or light gray is like very deep, things you're not concerned about. This is supposed to be visually helpful when you're navigating and you're entering into a shallower area so that you're aware of where you're at and where you're no longer in safe water. So safety contour is the thick gray line that separates gray from blue. Your shallow contour establishes the boundary between light blue and dark blue. Like I said, once you're in dark blue, you're in a world of hurt. Turn around. Your deep contour is where you go from your light gray to your dark gray. We recommend, or I say we, it is recommended that you set this to where your vessel's no longer going to be experiencing the effects of shallow water. So that's kind of getting into the weeds with like ship handling and stuff. But generally, this is at least 3 times your draft. That's where you're no longer going to be feeling your shallow water effects driving the boat. And then we also have a vertical clearance tool. So if you're driving under a bridge, you can set the tide value and it'll tell you whether or not your vessel is going to clear the bridge based on the values that you populate there. So that's how you use these contours. And I'm just going to show you real quick what happens when you set these differently. So right now we're set to 10, 30, and 60. And I'm actually going to zoom out a little bit and show some area that has deeper sections here. All right, so now when I go into settings, charts, S57 options, and I set these to, let's say our vessel, we do all the math and we figure out that we want our shallow contour to be 5 meters. Our safety contour is going to be 7 meters. And our deep contour is going to be 10 meters. We'll set the safety depth to 7 and we'll hit apply. Okay. And now you'll see that we have different shades that represent different depth areas. So like I said, everything that's in the light gray here, that's your very deep areas. That's going to be greater than 10 meters based on what we set in our settings. The darker gray is going to be anything 7 to 10 meters. The light blue is going to be anything from 5 to 7 meters, and your dark blue is anything shallower than 5 meters. You're basically what you set as your no-go zone. So that is all just helpful for making this display a little more useful for navigation. Let me see if there's anything else regarding ENCs that I wanted to cover. And here's just my pitch for ENC Editor. You should come to the session on Thursday where we talk about ENC Editor. There's a really cool tool in HYPACK that you can actually update ENCs and make your own ENCs if you're in an area that an ENC doesn't exist and you want something to navigate by based on maybe some survey data that you collected or just observations that you've made in the field. Obviously, if you're making an ENC for yourself, this isn't something that's going to go to NOAA and be published, but it is helpful for your own purposes for navigation if you're using HYPACK for navigation. Do we have any questions about ENCs in HYPACK before I turn it back over to Caroline? Oh, we ran ourselves right out of time. Go ahead.
Yeah, are you able to discern between the inland ENCs and the NOAA ENCs?
Let me see if I can pull up some Army Corps. They look a little different, I know that.
Yeah, there's different features.
Yeah, I don't know that there is a way. right away. I'm going to have to get you a better answer to that. Come see me after, and we'll talk about it. The question was whether there's a way to discern the difference between Army Corps charts and NOAA ENC charts, and I don't have a good answer for that right now. Do we have any other questions about ENCs or anything that Caroline covered? Yes, go ahead.
Just to make sure I'm understanding this right, I can, in the options, I can go ahead and delete all the text that's on that.
Yes, and I'll show you what it looks like when you turn everything off, because sometimes you just want to run with it blank. So I'm going to leave the hide extra contours selected, and that turns all your text off. Super helpful, in my opinion. The things that we didn't get to cover are, I was going to talk to you about, we were going to talk about web map servers, which is very important, and if you go to your thumb drive that was included in your bag, you'll have all that information for you, and if you have questions after going through the content, you can always reach out to us, training@hypack.com. And then I was also going to talk about matrix files and other displays and survey, but it turns out background charts is a really robust topic, and an hour is not enough to cover it all, so stay tuned for next year. And again, if you have any questions, you can always reach out to tech support, and we can answer your questions for you.
A real quick addition to the S57s is the units that you select for
Yes.
the S57s. It doesn't automatically swap to your project units, so be aware.
Yes, so I'll show you that real quick in settings, charts, S57 options. If you're in a foot project, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're in feet on your ENC chart, so you'll have to go in here and change it from meters to feet. That is important, especially when you're setting your safety contours, because you don't want to think that you're in feet and you're actually in meters, and all of a sudden you run aground. Thank you for that, Josh. There was something else I wanted to talk about with units, and I lost it when I launched into that. But yes, that's a very good point. All right, any other questions? Thank you guys for your attention. Thank you, Caroline, for presenting the first half of that topic. And stay tuned, in this room next is Geodesy and RTK. So some of the stuff that we touched upon lightly in this session will be covered in depth in the next session.